Sometimes a huge idea can start with something really small. Today, we're diving into a story that starts with just one injured animal, but it ends up telling us so much about community, conservation, and really the future of our forests. This is the incredible story of the Bhimber deer. So, it all kicked off with this one sentence in a report. A rare deer released back into the wild in a remote village called Nahala, right there on the line of control in Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Seems simple enough, right? But as we're about to see, this single event opens up a much bigger, much more important conversation. All right, let's get into the details of what actually went down. This first part is all about the rescue itself, a story of a deer getting a real second chance at life. Okay, so picture this. Villagers out in the Samahni Valley stumble upon an injured deer. Now, they could have just walked away, but they didn't. They decided they had to do something. And this is the part that's just so remarkable. It wasn't just one person. The whole community pitched in. They took this animal in and literally nursed it back to health for days. That period was absolutely crucial for its survival. So, once the deer was a bit stronger, the villagers made the next smart move. They got in touch with the local assistant commissioner, who, credit to them, immediately sent a wildlife officer all the way out to their village. And here it is, the moment they were all working for. The officer gives the deer a quick checkup, confirms it's healthy, and then they set it free. It just sprinted uphill and vanished back into the trees. What a victory for everyone involved. Now, that's a fantastic story all by itself. But the real lesson here comes when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This one little rescue is actually connected to the health of the entire forest. Let's dig into why. And it's a totally fair question to ask. I mean, with everything going on in the world, why all this focus on one single animal? Well, the answer is all about the special role this particular species plays in its home. See, the animal they saved was an Indian muntjac, sometimes called a barking deer. They're pretty shy, solitary animals. But here's the crucial part. In Pakistan, their status is near threatened. That means every single one of them really counts. And this rescue, it shines a spotlight on the exact dangers these deer are up against every day. Their injuries usually come from two things: dog bites, which can get infected and turn deadly in less than 24 hours, and cuts from barbed wire fences. So the quick action of these villagers almost certainly saved this deer's life. The threat isn't just to the animals, though. It's to their home. The Samahni Valley, where this all happened, has lost a shocking 18% of its forest cover just since the year 2000. That is a huge amount of habitat loss, and it puts unbelievable pressure on the whole ecosystem. So, what happens to a forest when it starts losing its deer? Well, it loses its most important employees. You can think of these deer as the gardeners of the forest. It's the perfect way to understand what they really do. So, what does being a gardener actually mean? Well, for starters, they eat shrubs, which keeps the forest floor from getting all overgrown. As they move around, their droppings spread seeds, which helps new, native trees to grow. Without them, the forest can get choked out by nasty invasive weeds that actually act as fuel for forest fires. So, it's simple. Saving the deer literally helps save the forest. Okay, and this brings us to what might be the most powerful part of this whole story. This one act of kindness doesn't have to be a one-off. It can be the start of something so much bigger, a way for these villagers to become true guardians of their environment.
The rescue was an amazing start, no doubt, but the big question is, how do you build on that? How do you turn that incredible moment into a real long-term plan for conservation?
Well, here's a pretty practical 4-step plan. First, you form a village wildlife watch to keep an eye out for poachers. Second, you start a deer diary to track where the animals are, which can help create a protected safe zone. Third, you work on replacing that dangerous barbed wire. And finally, and this one is key, you connect conservation directly to making a living. Let's talk about that income part for a second. We're talking about a situation where a simple ecotourism project could bring in 3,000 to 4,000 Pakistani rupees a month for a local household. That's not just an idea, that's real, tangible income. And how do they do it? By creating something like a deer and birds eco-trail. You could have guided walks, offer home-cooked meals, sell local crafts. It's a brilliant, sustainable model that proves a living forest is worth way more than a forest that's been cut down. So let's bring this all home. What did that one deer sprinting back into the woods really represent? Well, in a way, it represents the seeds of tomorrow.
I think the source material just says it perfectly. That deer wasn't just carrying its own life back into the wild. It was carrying the potential for a whole new, healthier forest. Its survival and the survival of its home are completely intertwined. In the end, the story of the Bhimber deer is proof that small actions taken by local people can have a massive impact. It shows that communities are maybe the most powerful force for conservation we have. And it leaves all of us with a really important question. What seeds of change can you plant right in your own community?